Right after October 7th attack, the world was shocked to death, but there were few billionaires who were happy in their hearts. As Israel was preparing for its greater plan, the big, powerful weapon industries felt the time is right to boast the sails and let the party begun. From General Dynamics to Martin Heed, to even the whole Israeli weapon industry, to American manufacturers, the world was watching the biggest advertisement of live ammunition. According to SIPRI, the sales are staggering, as high as 300% since October 7th. But the question is, how does war make billions? And is it why countries want to fund wars? The question is complex but very important. In the history of civilization, war was always a factor that would change the destiny of millions of people. Some would be captured and taken as prisoners of war. Forts were conquered to expand the military prowess. Kingdoms would fight over land and choke points. But after World War II, the world started experiencing a relative peace. Actually not. Cold War was brewing, and pretty much arms sales continued to shower the elite in Wall Street. However, as the Cold War ended and UN conventions started prohibiting countries from occupation and territorial ambitions, there was a relative calm. And guess what? September 11th took place. Boom! The market for arms sales again exploded. Every developed and developing nation started buying American arsenals, and Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya all became the flashpoints for the use of American guns. Thousands of innocent people were taken down, and the arms industries were overjoyed to see the exemplary performance of their weaponry. When it was over, Ukraine war began and the billions were poured into European defense markets. But the most pivotal moment emerged when Israel launched an aggressive attack on Gaza. Drones, AI bot, Iron Dome, new kinds of missiles and fighter jets. All guns were blazing, and the world markets were hypnotized and moved the immaculate quality of Israeli weapons. Yeah, people got killed, but man, the outcome will be consequential for the most powerful industries. And as expected, countries around the world started pouring with their vouchers to buy Israelis' weapons. And the sales of American guns also boasted, as they have pledged to showcase their new arsenals in the current war. Policies, human rights, sympathies, they all take a backseat in capitalism. The only thing that Rich cares about is maximizing profits. Whether it is through drone attacks or live ammunition, profit is the most holy cow that everyone is after in the arms industry. But it's not just arms industry. There are other industries that have also seen staggering growth. But first, how do these companies make billions? Let's talk about it. So you've got a company that can supply weapons or war materials to governments. That's your entry ticket into the world of war profiteering. Now what comes next? Well, history gives us plenty of examples. During World War II, American automakers were hailed as the arsenal of democracy because they converted their production lines to build planes, tanks, and trucks. It looked patriotic on the surface. But when US soldiers landed in Europe, they discovered something less heroic. German forces were also driving vehicles made by Ford and General Motors. In fact, GM played such a critical role in the Nazi war effort that historians argue Germany couldn't have invaded Poland without them. Banks got in on the act too. Chase Manhattan, for instance, helped Nazis seize Jewish assets, and other financial institutions did similar work. Fast forward a few decades, and the story repeats. Companies from over 24 countries sold weapons to both sides in the Iran-Iraq war, and Halliburton secretly funneled tens of millions in services to Iran through offshore deals. What do all these examples tell us? That corporations in the war business don't pledge allegiance to their homeland. Their only loyalty is to profit. If their bullets end up killing soldiers from their own country, it doesn't matter. Soldiers are replaceable. But profits, those are too precious to lose. Of course, there's a catch. You can't make big money off war unless there's actually a war. Small conflicts around the world can bring in some revenue, but the real windfall comes when major powers like the United States get involved. The problem, of course, is that the average person doesn't want to go to war. That's where lobbying and influence come into play. With the right friends in politics, the military, and the media, you can push the narrative. Suddenly television screens are filled with warnings, about weapons of mass destruction, dirty bombs, or Saddam Hussein's supposed ties to Al-Qaeda. The message is clear. War isn't just an option, it's inevitable. And when the public starts to believe it, the path to massive government contracts opens wide. Those contracts, by the way, are the real prize. In the world of war profiteering, they're the gold standard, much like a 30-year fixed mortgage is in real estate. The most lucrative type is the cost-plus contract. Here's how it works. The government agrees to cover every expense you incur, then adds a guaranteed profit margin, usually between 2 and 7% on top. It sounds modest until you realise the trick. The more you spend, the more profit you make. If a project costs $1 billion and your profit is 5%, that's $50 million. Not bad, but if you inflate the costs, overpay for supplies, add unnecessary charges, and the project runs to $4 billion, your profit skyrockets to $200 million. Suddenly, there's no reason to cut costs. Why stay at a cheap motel when you can bill the Ritz-Carlton in Qatar to Uncle Sam? Today, the United States contributes around 2/3 of NATO's weapons. Just take Ukraine as an example. Demand has increased since the war in Ukraine began. In 2024 alone, US military equipment sales to foreign governments increased by 29%, reaching a record $319 billion. The US military provides billions of dollars in military aid to countries such as Egypt, Israel, Ukraine, and Uganda. However, there are some conditions. This so-called aid from the US government frequently requires countries to spend the money on US armaments, regardless of who the funding is intended for. In fact, when US weapons are used in countries like Gaza and the West Bank, the US government typically pays for them. Seeing Palestinians in Gaza search and dig amid the ruins, discovering bombs made of Raytheon and Boeing, it's sick. Blood is on our hands, and it is supported by US defense contractors that benefit from every bullet and bomb dropped on innocent babies. That profit funnel has existed for decades. Since 1948, the United States has sent Israel more foreign aid than any other country, totaling more than $300 billion. Most of this comes in the form of annual funds that Israel must spend on American weapons. For example, Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system has been a goldmine for companies like Raytheon, who manufacture its components. And when tensions rise again, Congress expedites additional funds for Israel. The cycle continues, so this funding is essentially a subsidy for American defense firms. As a result, US firms who supply the Israeli military will continue to benefit indefinitely. Since 2001, the United States has spent $14 trillion on war. Almost half of it went to private defense companies. During this time, Afghanistan became the longest war in US history, as well as a lucrative business model for the weapons industry. Alright, so what are those giant companies that are literally funding the war and how they are profiting from it? It may seem ironic that a company founded by the United States' most notorious anti-Semite supplies the Jewish state with armoured vehicles. But the rabid ethno-nationalism, animating both Henry Ford and the current Israeli government, helps square the circle. Ford built its first assembly plant in Israel shortly after the Six-Day War of 1967. Henry Ford's grandson and successor explained of his decision to open the factory in Israel. Caterpillar, the construction equipment giant, isn't a weapons company. But when it comes to efforts to create what Israel calls facts on the ground, some of the most powerful weapons don't shoot. They turn dirt. These fearsome bulldozers are not your standard hunk of heavy machinery. For years, Israel has used Caterpillar's D9, a bulldozer up-armoured to withstand missile and RPG fire to demolish Palestinian homes in the West Bank and Gaza. It was a Caterpillar D9 that killed the American student activist Rachel Corrie in Rafah in 2003 as she tried to stop it from flattening a home. The following year, during the waning days of the Second Intifada, Human Rights Watch called on Caterpillar to stop selling the D9 to Israel, while Google, another company with close ties to the Israeli war machine, has been racked with internal dissent over its work in Israel. The AI firm Palantir proudly promotes its partnership with the state, CEO Alex Karp met with Israeli President Isaac Herzog and boasted about Israel's appetite for Palantir products. He was joined by co-founder Peter Thiel. Although Karp didn't specify which ones at the time, Palantir has confirmed during an analyst call that Israel uses a defense tech data ecosystem called Palantir Government Web Services. In an interview with Bloomberg, Karp said that under normal circumstances, he would agree with calls to restrict AI applications used by the military. But the reality of our life now, as Israel knows, is our adversaries are real, dangerous, and they go so far outside the norms of behaviour, he said. Karp's posture as a reluctant peddler of militarised AI deserves skepticism. Palantir is one of the signature companies of the war on terror. It got its start as a data miner in the mid-aughts with the help of an infusion of capital from In-Q-Tel, the investment arm of the CIA. From there, its products moved to the battlefields of Afghanistan, thanks in part to a push by a then-obscure army general named Mike Flynn. During Donald Trump's presidency, Palantir's schmoozing reaped a data mining contract with the army worth more than $800 million and another with Immigration and Customs Enforcement worth up to $42 million. The company responded to criticisms of its role in hunting immigrants by portraying itself as more patriotic than the rest of the tech sector. Silicon Valley is telling the average American, "I will not support your defense needs," Karp declared. In 2021, Google and Amazon won a $1.2 billion contract for the Israeli government's cloud computing system, known as Project Nimbus. Although little public information is available about how Nimbus works, Sam Biddle, a reporter for The Intercept who obtained internal Google documents, described the company's role as providing Israel with crucial advancements in artificial intelligence, specifically with capabilities for facial detection, automated image categorization, object tracking, and even sentiment analysis that claims to assess the emotional content of pictures, speech, and writing. From the start, Nimbus has drawn protests from Google workers. In 2022, Ariel Coren resigned from her position as a marketing manager, claiming that the company had retaliated against her for organizing against Nimbus. The world's largest weapons manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, supplies Israel with F-16 and F-35 fighter jets. It also makes C-130 Hercules transport planes that Israel used during its ground invasion last year. Lockheed Martin manufactures AGM-114 Hellfire missiles for Israel's Apache helicopters. In the first month of Israel's war on Gaza, the company delivered 2,000 missiles to Tel Aviv. On November 9th, Israel struck near the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City using a Lockheed Martin-made Hellfire R-9X missile. On a call with investors in October 2023, company CEO Jim Thepapeclip said Israel's war on Gaza was a potential driver for increased revenue in the coming years. The company's market value has increased more than 55% since October 7, 2023. The world's fourth largest weapons manufacturer, Boeing makes F-15 fighter jets and Apache AH-64 attack helicopters that the Israeli Air Force has used extensively in both Gaza and Lebanon in its ongoing war on the two fronts. Israel dropped two Boeing-made 250-pound guided bombs on the Tel al-Sultan refugee camp in Rafah on May 26th, killing at least 45 people. The company has faced major financial difficulties over the past few years, partly because of its commercial division that sells passenger aircraft. But it has now shifted its focus to its Defense, Space and Security, BDSS division, which produces different models of bombers, helicopters, and electronic surveillance equipment, the research paper says. The BDSS division has also been losing money in recent quarters because of cost overruns on old, fixed-price defense contracts for which it would bid aggressively before the pandemic. As of the latest quarter, Boeing's BDSS division had orders amounting to $4 billion and an order backlog of $59 billion. As much as stateside attention has understandably been focused on the US provision of arms to Israel's war machine, Israel has built its own booming military export industry. According to a recent analysis by SIPRI, Israel's the world's 9th largest arms dealer, with sales, according to the Israeli government, as high as $12.5 billion in 2022. Its main clients include India, 37% of defense exports, the Philippines, 12%, the United States. Other signatories of the Abraham Accords, Israel has made at least 4 arms shipments to Myanmar since 2018, Haaretz reported in 2022. Alongside such coveted exports as drones and air defense systems, Israel has increasingly supplied countries with its sophisticated surveillance technology. The most infamous example is the NSO Group's Pegasus spyware, which exploits vulnerabilities in Apple's iMessage system to extract data from unsuspecting users without them so much as having to click on a sketchy link. Pegasus appeared on the phones of people close to the murdered Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, despite the denials of the NSO Group. Years later, NSO sold Pegasus to most of the Arab signatories of the Abraham Accords, and when Saudi Arabia's Pegasus license expired, the New York Times reported, Bin Salman called Netanyahu and successfully got it restored. War is a racket. It has always been. It's probably the oldest, easily the most profitable, and undoubtedly the most cruel. It is the only one with an international scope. It is the only one in which profits are measured in dollars and losses in lives. But the whole purpose of this video was to really understand how the world is run, and that we are probably living in the most darkest times where business is thriving when people are slowly perished. So, it was a big one, but I hope you guys enjoyed this documentary.